Welcome to Inner Niña podcast, embracing your inner child while leading with strength. This is a space for Latina women and beyond who are ready to break generational cycles and lead from a place of wholeness. Together, we will reconnect with the little girl inside, the one who dreamed big, felt deeply, and longed to be seen, and honor her as we step in fully into our power. Join me, Maria Benitez, for heartfelt reflections and empowering conversations about identity, healing, culture, and leadership. Each episode invites you to embrace your inner niña while leading with authenticity, compassion, and courage. Welcome back to Inner Niña. Today, our special guest is Janashay Bernal, or also known as Shay. Shay is someone who is constantly exploring what it means to grow, heal, and stay honest with herself, even when it's uncomfortable. Sharing her personal, unfiltered reflections about her life, identity, and the lessons that shaped who she has become. Welcome, Shay. Thank you so much for joining us today and being part of our Inner Niña community. How are you today?
Doing okay. Thank you, Maria. Nice to be here.
Thank you. So a little fun fact, how I know her, I'm actually meeting her, but she was highly recommended by one of our Inner Niña former guests and part of our community, Ana Perla. So Ana Perla connected her with me, and we want to make sure we also get a chance to hear her story. So this is an opportunity for you, Shay, to tell us who you are, your background, family dynamics, and tell us a little bit about yourself.
Thank you. Okay, so I was born in Poway, California, and I was one of three. My mother had three children. My dad is actually from Acapulco. My mother is white. Growing up, I didn't know my father. And so I had a stepfather that was Mexican and would send me to TJ every summer, right? And I didn't know that I was a white girl. I really didn't know that I was a white girl. All I knew is that I had money and I didn't know how much it was. And I would go to TJ and tell I want this many chicles for however much she got right there. So yeah, moving forward, I lived with my mom until I was age 6. At that time, I found out that my mom was an addict. And that's where life really turned upside down for me. As a child, I needed my mother. I didn't know what drugs were necessarily, but I knew they were bad, right? On the other side of that, I got sent to my stepdad's, which at this point I think is my father. Turns out, he was very abusive, actually, physically, emotionally. And so I remember very young as a child, not feeling safe, right? And for me, that turned into anger. I learned that really young, 8 years old, to fight for myself. Because again, my mother wasn't there. She was in prison. So I learned to be rough and I learned to fight back. And I learned that I had to stand up for me. By the age of 12, I always had this thing that I wanted to be with my mother. I just wanted to be with my mom. I think like any child does. But that wasn't an option. At age 12 years old, I left the house and I was in the street. And, I for some reason thought that would be a better idea. I felt it for once in my life, I had control over something. And that something, I can't say necessarily was better, but I wasn't under the control of this type of environment. So I left behind my little brother, which was the only constant in my life. My little brother was my little brother. And so it really hurt me to turn myself in half to leave him behind, but also save myself. And so that's what I did, though. And I ended up going into the foster system. My sister had lived with her boyfriend at this point. My younger brother was with his dad. So I go into the foster system and I find out that my dad isn't even my dad, right? And my name is not even my name. My last name is not Martinez. It's Bernal. So that was really hard for me to swallow as a child. So here I am in the foster system. I'm labeled as the bad kid. And that turned into a big mess. I didn't believe anybody, didn't care if I did well. I didn't think that anyone would notice if I was gone. And even though I knew that I wasn't stupid, even though I knew that mine was valuable, it was really hard to separate those two things as a child. There were times in my life that I tried to do good. But as a teenager, that was kind of difficult. I know that around 17, I said, you know what, I'm going to flip the whole script here. I'm going to do good. And really, I wanted to see if anyone would notice, really, is what my motive was, you know? I was student of the month from the whole district. I was president of all these groups, you know? And of course, nobody showed up for me. You know, I was the bad kid. And again, I went on this little rebellious thing. I always tried to go back to school, but I would kept falling into drugs. So at 19, 17, I got kicked out of my foster home because I decided it would be a good idea to do illegal activity across the border. And that wasn't a great idea looking back. But so I tried to go back to school. And as an adult, I met my son's father, and I got sober. I remember looking around and thinking, I don't want anything to do with what is going on around me. I was around my mother, and she was in her active addiction. My sister was in her active addiction, and so was my little brother at this point. So I really felt like I was just on my own. So it was a really confusing thing for me because if I was involved in my family's dynamic, it was chaos and drugs and alcohol, right? But if I chose to not engage, then I was by myself and I didn't have the tools to be okay. And so I got sober and got a great job. I was a heavy equipment operator. I had nothing to do with my family, really. So I was lonely, you know. That relationship didn't last very long. And I did drink, right? So I thought that I was sober. I thought I was sober because I only drank alcohol. Well, it turns out that drinking only alcohol at that rate is really not a good idea either. Me and his dad separated, and I met what who I ended up marrying. And we were together for 10 years. Again, I was sober. In my mind, I was sober, but I became a shell of myself or who I thought I was. And I would try to do anything to fit into this box. And I tried to be the best mother that I could possibly be without any real experience, right? Because I didn't have that growing up. I hated my mother for what she had done, and I was just very hurt and resentful. You know, 10 years into the relationship, he decided he was just not going to move with us. And that was really confusing to me when it felt like my whole. And I ended up on drugs and alcohol. And I left my kids behind. And through that experience, it took me over 10 years to come back home. And that was something I couldn't forgive myself for because I knew the hate that I had. It was very confusing at the same time because I gained a lot of healing through being a mother and an addict that I didn't have beforehand, right? Because now I understand wasn't that she didn't love me, it's that she was in her addiction, right? And so I try to take those lessons and apply them. And it took me a very long time to build myself to the point where I knew that I could stand up and that it wasn't bigger than me. And I no longer believed the lie that that's all I was. That's all I was ever going to be. Moving forward, my oldest sister dies in January of 2024 of alcoholism. And life definitely changed for me the day I seen her pass. She asked me to get sober because the amount of let me rewind. When I left my house, a month later, I got beat, just grabbed on my throat and beat into the riverbed. And so for 9 years in the street, I carried this wound on my neck. And as you guys can see now, I have this collar on. This is the second surgery I've had in a year. And so I get sober. Well, my daughter shows up. Okay, so my sister dies January. My daughter, I have been gone missing for 10 years, shows up to my grandma's on Mother's Day of 2024. And I have to say that saved my life. Between my sister dying and me promising her that I would do everything, she would tell me, excuse my language, she said, "Bitch, jump. You are ready. Like, what are you doing? Just do it," And I was scared. I was so scared. I didn't know how I was gonna didn't know how I was gonna face it. My daughter showed up. She said, "Mom, I don't care what you look like. I don't care. We just want to see you at the graduation." And I knew with everything in me, this is my moment. This is where I can hear my sister like jump, and my baby is standing in front of me. She's 18 now, and she says, "Mom, please show up." And you know what? I was like 60 pounds smaller than I am. I showed up, and I faced life, and that's where my journey changed. I got surgery, and I one step at a time. I didn't know how. I had so many concussions. I didn't know how I was gonna. I didn't have a clue. I'd been literally living in the dark in abandoned buildings, be in the forest, just away from the world. I didn't want anyone to see me. I didn't want to talk. I didn't want to explain. I just wanted to disappear. And so my new journey begins. Sober date is July 19th, 2024. So I'm almost 2 years sober. I have definitely had my run with alcohol. I tried to die out there, and it didn't happen. So I'm here for a reason, and I'm gonna continue to fight. So yeah, one step at a time. I've gone through 13 months of treatment, community. I work with others. I answer the phone. I run meetings. I stay connected. Rebuilt my relationship with my kids. One of the important things for me was that I didn't come here and promise the world. I really had to earn everything I've had and speak with intention, and my actions with intention, and sometimes that's uncomfortable. I got back here, I got divorced. That was really hard for me to swallow. I don't think I ever healed that wound, and coming back here, and I had never seen him again since this happened. I've been doing a lot of work with kind of forgiveness, really, and trying to navigate without being resentful, without being, what happened has happened, and seeing my part in it. So after I got invited to this podcast, I in the final part of it, and it was talking about my inner child, and it made me cry. It made me cry because when I found a picture, which I tracked down after all this time, I've tracked down, and I see that little girl in a different light. And it's the first time in my life that I realized that that part of my journey is probably one of the most crucial parts of this, because I never learned what love meant. I don't know how to understand when someone genuinely loves me. To me, I want to fight. To me, things are temporary. To me, I don't know that it's going to be something that's going to last. So I have a guard up, and I do understand that now. But I do understand also that it doesn't have to stay that way. And so I really appreciate this opportunity being here.
I want to say first and foremost, thank you for being vulnerable and sharing your story. I don't believe in coincidence. All of us are in a healing journey. And just a little bit of the backstory, because I like to share that story. We all have our inner Niña that we're healing, right? And I always say, no matter what we look like in the outside, the little inner Niña is the one that kind of needs the healing. And we need to heal that, because a lot of what we still do is part of what we didn't have when we were little, right? And so I give you credit for being sober. And the things that you were navigating was because you were lacking something when you were little. And it wasn't your fault, because based on what you're telling me, your mom was also had to navigate whatever she was having to deal with. And if you don't have a support system around, you feel alone, and it's going to take you longer to get out of whatever darkness that you're in, right? And fortunately, you have a daughter that was very forthcoming with you, but she looked for you because she needs you. And I'm glad that that at least helped you try to get out of whatever you're in. But you have people now. You have people now. You're part of this community. You have Ana Perla. And a lot of the incredible ladies that I'm meeting were in similar situations like you. But you find a community of women like myself. I can relate. I haven't not gone through, my journey is a little different, but my little inner Niña still feels the pain of whatever I was lacking, which it was lacking attention, lacking love. And that caused me to do other things that I'm trying to heal. We're in a healing journey. But I could tell you, Shay, you're not alone anymore. Okay. You have a community and you can reach out. You have my number. So if you want to just talk, you can call me. Because I know this is not a coincidence, and going back to that is I'm a woman of faith. And so for a while now I keep asking God, align me with my purpose and align me with people that align with my purpose. So he changed a couple of things for me in the past few months. And this is how this platform was built. And when I talk to people like you and other people that have been part of the guests for the community, it's a reminder that you coming here because he's sending you to me. You're sending me, and then now we have a bigger community. We have, Ana Perla was referred to by another member that came in, and we have like the homegirls of Del Corazon, and we have like all these women that we're building that community, right? You guys are not alone. We choose our family. Sometimes we don't have a choice in the family that we're born in, but we get a choice to build the community and the family that we want, the family that we really need, the one that's going to nurture us, the one that's going to love us, right? So I can tell you, you're not alone anymore. So what you're doing, I respect that and I love that. It's going to take day by day, one day at a time. So whenever you feel like the urge or you feel like you call one of us. Call one of us. Call Ana Perla. She had me tearing. I'm like, when she was telling me her story, it's her also was very incredible, right? But through faith, she's at where she's at right now. Okay. So I'm glad that you're doing a lot better. I just want to have a couple of questions for you. You mentioned that when you were in the foster home, you found out that the father you thought was a father was not your father, not your Bernal. Did you ever meet him?
So I met him, and so my mom was losing custody, and it's kind of wild. So they found him. The courts found him, and so there was some kind of deal that my mom's and him were thinking that if you get her, then you just give her back to me or whatever. Well, at even that young age, I decided, you know what, I don't want to go with either one of you. I even at that point was like, I'm gonna stay where I'm at. So I did meet him. We set up a couple of dates to meet up, and he didn't show up. I just let it go. The last time I seen him, I was pregnant with my daughter, and I went to the hospital, and I remember seeing him standing in the maternity ward, and I went down the hallway, and I was like, you know what? I want you to see me. So I went back over there, and I said, "Excuse me, what is your name?" And he said, his name is Marcelino. And I said, "Do you know who I am?" And he's looks at me, he's like, "Oh my God, like, you're my daughter." Yeah. Like, how are you?
What was he doing in the maternity ward?
Got me, but it wasn't for me. But so, yeah, I just asked, "How are you?" The extent of the conversation. And I said, "Well, you take care." And I left. But I couldn't walk by and not let him see me. Like, dude, you left me hanging. And I just need you to remember me today. And it kind of felt better for me to be able to do that and just understand that that's just what it was. My heart, I don't know what day, but I never looked for him again. And that's okay with me today. And I think that also that has a lot to do with why I stayed in abusive relationships because I wanted my kids so bad to have what I didn't, and at all costs. At all costs. I will say that I take full responsibility in my drinking. I thought that I was being a good mom, but I was drinking every day. And, my fuse isn't so long when I've been drinking, and there was a lot of violence. But again, like that's what I learned as a kid. And that's what I learned how to be in control, I think, more than anything. And so I was in and out of the psychiatric hospital. It was just chaos. So I did want to mention.
You mentioned also that you experienced abuse from your stepfather.
Yes.
Did you tell anybody? Did you report it?
So I did tell my mom, and you know, I'm not really sure what happened, but nothing was ever done. His brothers also were doing this to me, and I I was the kid that was afraid to go to school because I was always getting pulled into the office, and they were always checking my body, and Even after I was older and went to a foster home, like I tried to tell them, but nobody heard me. Like they thought I was again the bad kid. And so I just really held it in, really.
So they got away with it. Nobody did anything. The reason I'm asking this is one of the things that we're trying to do, right, is part of our culture as well is to stay quiet, to make sure we don't say anything. It doesn't protect us as children, it protects the perpetrator. And we're trying to change that with the new generation, whether we're kids. Yeah, I have my kids, I'm super protective of them. Since they were little, they're adults. But part of what we have to share the story is that it wasn't okay. It's unfortunate you didn't feel safe and you weren't protected. That's not fault of your own. It's fault of the adult that was supposed to be protecting you, whether your mother and even your stepfather. But I want to make sure that we share that, right? Because we want to make sure whoever's listening know we have our voice and we need to speak up. We're not protecting the family. We're not protecting our parents. We're not protecting our mom. We're protecting ourselves. And if they fail to protect us, then we have to protect ourselves, right? So it's unfortunate because as it is, you are dealing with a lot already, right? Abandonment issues. You were raised by yourself, then you put in foster care, which I'm sure that wasn't easy. And then how did that translate when you had your kids? You have 3 kids, right?
I have 4 kids.
4 kids.
I did want to mention that too. So when my daughter came and my daughter came to get me, I mean, my daughter came, brought me flowers. I showed up to between my kids, they all got together and coordinated tickets and whatnot. And so I got here to Washington and I stayed here for 2 weeks and I went back to California to, I don't know what I thought I was getting. I think I was really trying to like put my head around what's going to happen right now. And so my son showed up to pick me up. And then, I mean, it was down to the wire. I mean, Ella used to see me out there and she reached out many times. And I mean, I was bad. And my son showed up. The cops were there trying to get involved by the cops. It was just chaos. And obviously, I didn't go to jail. My son picked me up and I was exhausted I mean, I had been walking for days. And okay, so when I came back from Washington, those 2 weeks that I was out here, it literally came down to the wire. I had overdosed like 3 times in those 2 weeks. One of Anna is the one who invited me here. So she worked with a outreach team, right? That kind of helps like harm reduction and stuff like that. And I've known her since I was 12 years old. And so she would reach out to me, and at the time, I was living in an abandoned house. I always make jokes, but it literally was no lights, boarded up windows, rats, old cats, and um, I mean, if I could describe it, was like just a dingy, moist trash. And that was my comfort zone. I mean, and it was very scary for me to walk out of there. Why? Like you would think that I would want to, but that was what I had established all these years, right? This whether it was chaos or not, that was my family. That's who had we had grown close. And that was like the first time in my life that over a period of time I had people in my life, whether it was positive or negative or whatever, that was my family. And so I was so scared to walk out of there. But my son showed up and there was no choice. Girl, it's ready. You're ready. Time. So um I did see Anna before I left. And so we reconnected on Facebook and she was like, oh my God, like you did it. And it felt good. It felt good
How
there
old are
are
your
certain
kids?
my oldest is just turned 23. He's in the military. I have a 20-year-old daughter. She works at a daycare. And then my daughters are 16 months apart. So I had my other daughter is 19, turning 19. She's like a dental assistant, and I have a son that's 15, and he's still in high school. So looking back, I'm like, man, how did I do that?
And who
How did I
raised
do it?
them? Who they
So so I left when my son was 9 years old, and so my oldest was with his father, who's in California, and my youngest three stayed with their family. So a month after I me and their dad split up, Dad went to federal prison, and so they didn't have neither one of them. And, I could easily be like, poor me, like I did this. But I learned. I learned, I stepped away. I learned how to be a better mom. Like, if that makes any sense. There was things in me that I didn't know. I really didn't know. I had no idea how to go any further. I had nothing left. And I feel like through this, all of this, I'm able to be present today. And I have the life experience that is needed to be there to give advice, to be that listening ear, to show my children that you can, yes, people fall sometimes, but you can get up. You can get up. And I'm just so grateful that they're giving me the opportunity to be that mother, because that's honestly the only thing I ever prayed for out there was, God, like, please give me the time, give me the opportunity, please, that I get, that one day they understand my journey. Not necessarily firsthand, so I don't believe that they're like making it right, right? That I can be that person that I need to be, that I want to be both ways, right? For me and for them. I feel like I am establishing that. And I give my ex-mother-in-law, I always thought, like, if I owe anybody an explanation or pedir perdón, right? Like, please, like, I could not, I could not be more grateful for her, because had it not been for her, like, what would have happened? So definitely I give thanks to her. Dad got out of prison, and they've been with him since he got out. And that was part of me that frustrated me. But, uh, but I'm grateful. I'm grateful that we both have come out of our faith for our kids, over and above all.
I'm glad to hear that. I know that you're in the recovery, right? So that's a day to day. Along with
Right.
recovery, are you taking any therapy or maybe having therapy with your kids?
So at the moment, I am in trauma therapy myself. We haven't gotten to that space yet where we are able to do that, but that is definitely something on my to do, right? Um, but also, I do meet with a psychiatrist. So I get outside help as well. Meet with a therapist once a week. This has been going on almost 2 years now. And what I feel like it's such a process. I thought again there and then it's going to be a quick fix. No, I have so many things that, it's building trust and getting to know each other. And so I finally feel like I'm at a point where, like, I'm getting to the real things. And so, it's definitely important for my recovery to have all angles, if that makes sense.
Yeah. And then, well, there's
Go ahead.
therapy, and like what we're doing right now is a form of therapy, right? And goes back to what I said earlier, that you were quiet for so long because you felt like the people you trusted and you share what was going on, whether the struggles that you were having to deal with at a young age, they let you down. So you kind of internalize that and kind of shut down, right? But what we're doing is when we externalize and we start sharing, it's part of the healing process. And you still have to purge, you still have to, you're gonna cry. You're gonna have to, like you mentioned, part of when we started the podcast is one of the things is I asked for a picture of you, a little girl of you, because that's who we are. That's who we are honoring in this platform. Regardless of how our age, is that little girl that we are actually letting her know we hear you, we see you, we love you, you're safe now, and we're gonna continue honoring you regardless of what you went in the past. We know you now. So that picture is always, it gets me too. You see the background, there's a picture of me there
Aw.
because now no matter where I'm at, she's also going to be present. And so that's part of your healing process. And the fact that you're having this conversation here with me, when you kids hear it, they'll understand a little bit more, because the more we speak, the more they're going to be able to understand the whys. It's not like you intended to do that. You were fighting your own demons. And unfortunately, you have no one that was there to help you and say, hey, let me help you figure that out. And regardless of what you went through, you made it. You're here. Because there's a lot of stories that don't have the happy ending that you have. There's a lot of them from addiction that they don't make it the following day. And you not only made it, you've been clean for now almost 2 years, and you're doing well. And it's a day by day, but now you have a community, you have your kids back. And regardless of whether you feel like you're doing it for your kids, you have to do it for yourself. Love yourself. And so you owe that to yourself. And I think you're doing great. Again, you have a community now. And so you're gonna realize that we have a lot of support. And that's one of the things that we're working on. And if you need extra help, let us know. And there's a lot of other groups through this platform. There's other nonprofits that are working with different parts of the healing process, right? Whether it's addiction, domestic abuse, sexual abuse. We have different nonprofits that are helping Latinas in their journey heal from whatever childhood trauma we've had to endure. And so it may take you years, it may take you a lifetime of healing, but I'll have to let you know you're not alone in the healing process. We're all here with you. Okay.
Thank you.
So I'm glad that you're there. You're safe, because I know Ana Perla was part of what she was doing is she was out there in working with homeless. And one of the things that really warmed my heart when she said, he's like, I'm a hugger. So I was hugging homeless. I don't care. People are like, well, they smell. I was homeless. I smell. She was like, I try not to, because I try myself clean and stuff like that, but that doesn't take away from me. I'm gonna hug you. And I was like, wow, that like really was like, and she's relatable. And the fact that she was there and she got herself out and empathizes with the people that she's not helping, right? So I'm glad that you're there and you're now safe. What are you working on now?
So as of right now, I applied to Evergreen State College and got accepted. And so I'm now a full-time student, an undergraduate student, and I am working psychology and to be a social worker. So I'm not really sure exactly what route that goes. I know that the options are like huge as far as social work goes. Right now, I'm trying to get the basics, but I definitely want to give back. I definitely want to reach out, and I definitely want to be somebody who can use what I've been through, because that understanding is something that you cannot read about. I mean, you can, but being that child and being that wife or being the addict and mother, there's just so many things that are in my heart right now that it's just like so huge. It's kind of hard sometimes to like tone it down.
You're gonna able to empathize, right? And I've said this in a lot of different episodes, because we've all had to go through a tough journey, right? By no means am I comparing my journey to some of my guests, because it's really hard. But regardless of what we had to endure, I think it was done intentionally for us to be able to relate and use our experience to help others. Because one of the things I've shared in other episodes is like some of us are a lot stronger than others. So I do believe that God uses some of us to share, unfortunately, that burden, because we are strong enough to bear whatever challenge He's putting at us. Because the ones that are looking at us and say, I don't know how she does it. Because I've had that conversation. I have people like, how did you do it? It's in God's hands. I know whatever I go through, He's going to bless me with 10 more great things. I just have to wait it out, right? And I think that we all go through that on purpose. As it's not easy to say, because they're like, why is He putting me through this? But because He knows that He has a plan for us, right? Like you mentioned, you're telling me you're going to school and you use your experience to help others. That's your purpose. And the fact that you are recognizing that means that whatever you are going to focus on doing, you're going to be great at it, because you're going to come from a place of understanding, because you've been there. You know how it feels, whether you were a child or you were in the streets or you were fighting recovery. You can relate. So congratulations on that. I love hearing those great stories, because your past doesn't define you. It doesn't define us. And it's just now going to make you a better version of you. So that's great. So what college is it that you were enrolled in?
State.
And you're in Washington, right?
Evergreen State. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. So I decided to skip the community college and go straight for the big boys. And once I got there, I was like, oh my gosh, I did it.
You got it.
Yeah.
You got it.
It's pretty cool. It is really cool.
Just enjoy the process, So we're gonna stay connected, because I want to see your journey.
Yes.
I'm big on education. I'm part of a nonprofit that we are here in San Diego. We mentor young girls with scholarships and provide them mentors so they can get the guidance until they finish school. They start in junior high. And they get mentors. So the nonprofit that I'm part of, I don't know if we don't have one in Washington. We have our headquarters in Washington, but we don't actually have a chapter in Washington. It's called MANA, which it used to stand for Mexican American National Association. Now is MANA as a National Latina organization. And in San Diego, I've been active here. I rolled out a scholarship because I do believe that education opens doors.
Right.
Not only for you, but for the ones behind you, your kids. It's going to give you an opportunity. I was talking to another guest who said, I didn't see myself in college because I thought that's only for smart people. I'm like, what?
I get smart.
For smart and rich people. I'm like, you get smart by going to school.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You start reading, you get smart. So it's a misconception that, higher education is only for rich people. And it's not. If you want to learn. And the more you learn, you're gonna be like, your appetite. It's like, I want to know more, right? And it's interesting how that works out. But that's great. So, one of the things I asked one of my guests, and it said, you have a very inspiring journey, and I appreciate you for you sharing that. If you had some words of wisdom to share with our audience, what would that be?
I have to say, words of wisdom. I would say there's beauty in the struggle. There's always a lesson. If we just learn to pay attention, time never stops, whether good or bad. So being in the present is the most important thing that I've learned. And follow the heart. Don't let anybody bash your dreams because you know what? God has other plans. I never saw myself making it. I hoped and I prayed, but I just didn't believe it. And I'm standing here after being torn through the dirt, and I'm here. So definitely just hold on.
I said that before, and I'll say it again. God has a purpose, and I don't believe in coincidence. There's no coincidence where you were referred to me. There's no coincidence where you're sharing your story. We're growing our community, and it's all God's plan. God intended me to create this platform because it came really organic in one conversation with the nonprofit I was in. I'm going through some journeys right now. For a few months, I've been going through something that God has allowed me to go through, and it aligns with what He wants me to work on. Create an opportunity where we're sharing these stories, give Him credit for what He's working on us because we're work in progress. But He's reminding us that we don't have to do it alone because we're creating a community of support system for each other. You have Ana, you have me. We're only a phone call away, and we're building our comunidad, our family here, where we're going to support each other. And that's intentional. I do believe that it's intentional. So I just know that. So you're on the right track.
Thanks.
And stay focused and positive. Another thing I want to say is we need to learn how to forgive ourselves because sometimes we are the biggest critic and we're the hardest on ourselves when we shouldn't. We should learn to forgive ourselves because there's mistakes that we've made that was beyond our control, right? And so we have to make sure that we love ourselves first, be gentle to ourselves, and learn to forgive for the things that we had no control over doing. I know you're struggling with that because you mentioned that, the facts you weren't with your kids. There was nothing you could do at that time because you were battling your demons. But look where you're at right now. So you have an opportunity to have a better relationship with your kids now, right? That's great. So if you had a chance to go back to your little Shay, your little girl of you, what would you tell her?
I would tell her that she's smart and she's worth it and she's gonna be okay and that I love her and she is safe.
Amen. She is definitely loved. She is divinely protected because you were protected even as a little girl, and God was there with you even when you were a little girl. So we need to celebrate. So, on a kind of happy note, one of the things that we're talking to the guests because we're still healing our inner Niña. So one of the things we're trying to do, I was talking to another guest the other day. It's like with even the homegirls, we're like, let's have a barbecue, and let's have a piñata party,
Yeah.
because some of us didn't have a birthday because whatever reason we were going through, whether the family dynamics, the abuse or trauma that we're dealing with we missed a lot of the things as a child. So we're trying to find a way to celebrate her, the little one in the back right there. So we're trying to say, like, let's have a piñata party. Let's all dress in pink. We talk about the toys we didn't get when we were little. Let's get them now because now we got money. We actually have a group of, this is another nonprofit, Escolas Valientes. They work with domestic abuse women, Latinas. And once a year, they pick 15
survivors of domestic abuse, and they have a quinceañera. And
Oh,
when I say a quinceañera, all out, vestido grande with chambelán and walls and balse and everything. And so I found out that she's actually one of my guests that she came out. And so I'm going to be attending my first quinceañera, and some of the girls, the homegirls that I had the episode, I'm trying to encourage them for them to do it next year because they didn't get a chance to do a lot of the things that are normal for a little girl growing up in that stage, right? So we get to do it now at this age. It's never too late, right? We're going to embrace our little self. We're going to have piñata parties. We're going to have quinceañera,
right.
and that's okay. So I was telling somebody, I'm like, my birthday this year, I'm like, you know what? I think I'm going to get myself a little piñata and just give myself a little piñata. I'm just like, why not? We were talking about Barbies, Cabbage Patch Kids, Hello Kitty, things I couldn't afford when we were little. Yeah. My Little Pony was a little bit more little for me. So I was more like, but we were talking about that. So this platform is allowing us for us to say, it's okay if we do it right now because our little girl, our little inner Niña deserves that. So we're going to get 2 cakes, one for the adult and one for the little one. So we're just going to embrace her.
All right. Well, let me know. Definitely. I'm
And
always
you need to let me know when you're in town,
okay.
when you're in California. Do you visit often?
I have not gone back since, but I do have my mom out here. My mother has my sister's kids that passed away out, and she lives in Escondido. So my mother lives in San Diego still.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
My
all your kids, where are your kids at?
Here in Washington.
Okay, so you get to see them.
Yeah, I live with my oldest son.
Oh, nice. That's
Yeah.
great. That's sweet.
It's been a journey.
Well, I don't know if I may be in Washington this year because I'm part of the organization and our headquarters is in Washington. And I think we're due to visit this year. Probably we make our annual meeting in Washington. So I'll let you know if I'm in Washington. I'll maybe meet up for you and we'll go have something to eat and catch up in person. I would love to, meet you in person.
Yes.
But you are part of this community, Shay. So I want you to get lost and feel like I'm just a phone call away, even if you just want to chat,
Thank
know. Okay. And then our stories need to be told, and you can start writing some of your stories too, because it's so important for you to write. We have also authors.
Yes, I was kind of I watched one of your episodes and I'm really interested in writing. Yeah.
So Erica Alfaro, if you follow her episode,
Yes.
her mission in life is to create more Latina authors because there's only 8% of Latina published authors. So I was able to squeeze in. So there's 50 of us in that cohort.
Yeah.
20 of them already are published authors, and their books actually are going to be showcasing in Bogota, Colombia at the end of the month. And so I'm already writing my books. I already have started. And so she's working with me and she's like, you know what? I'm not going to have the capacity because she does a lot of keynote speaking. She's out there. She's great at what she does. But she wants to train some of us to kind of help others write their books. And you have a really incredible story. Any story is really worth telling because it's our story. So all you need to do is sit down and start talking and start writing. And then there's a way for us to kind of help each other till you get your book published. My goal is to get mine published this year and then work with her. She knows that she's like, maybe you could be a mentor, teach what I'm teaching you to someone else, have a little group and teach them so they also can become authors. We're trying to pay it forward by creating a bigger group ripple effect of Latinas to become authors.
See, no coincidence.
Let's go. There is no coincidence, Shay. There's no coincidence. God is putting us all together for a reason. We're in each other's life now. So just let you know. And then I'm still working with her. The session, we're going to continue partnering until I get my book published. But I'm interested to become a mentor so I can help others do the same thing, become authors. And so we can increase the 8% to more than 8% of Latina published authors. Okay. So I want to say thank you so much for being vulnerable and sharing your story with us and walking us through your journey. I'm so glad that you are safe, that you're recovering day by day. You're gonna be great. So I'm glad that you also have your kids with you. You're part of our community, so you can always reach any of us for help, me included. And we want to continue having these conversations and learning so we can heal together. To our guests, thank you so much for listening and making space for me. I am Maria Benitez, and this is our journey together. Until next time, thank you. God bless.
for listening. Thank you for holding space for me. And thank you for allowing me to walk beside you as you heal your inner Niña. Until next time, please don't forget to follow and subscribe.